Good afternoon or good morning, everyone, depending on where you're located. Welcome. Today is the pre-retirement webinar. And my name is Todd Creviston. I'm a benefit educator at Wespath. I'm sitting next to Cheryl Hatcher. She's also a benefit educator. We'll be co-presenting today. In the background today, we also have Frank O'Brien and
I think his
Bob
name would be
Christoffel.
Bob Christoffel, exactly.
He is our boss.
Yes.
They will be manning the question or the Q&A box. So if you have any questions as we go through the presentation, feel free to add your question there. It'll get answered during the webinar today. And if by chance there's enough questions where that isn't possible to get it answered by the end of the webinar, we'll go ahead and send you the answer via email. We're also recording today, and we'll send that link to the recording as a follow-up, along with a PDF of the slides. We know how the webinar participants like the slides at the end, so we'll send you those slides as a PDF. And then we'll also send a link, registration link, that will allow you to connect or set up an appointment, benefit education consultation with one of the benefit educators.
Yes.
So welcome.
Welcome, definitely.
So here's what we're going to talk about today. To be honest, we have a lot of slides to cover today and some pretty broad topics. What we'd like you to remember, though, is your resources, who you can go to, who you can talk to, who you can ask advice from. And it's really the benefit education team in the benefit education consultations, and it's also EY. They used to be known as Ernst & Young. They shortened their name a couple of years ago to EY. That is a resource that is at no additional cost to you. You could use that as much as you'd like. It's telephonic financial planning advice. So if you remember those two, all the rest is fluff. So some common questions about retiring. I'm probably 10 years away from retiring, and I think about some of these questions today. So is now the right time? For me, it's too early. I know I've got about another 9-10 years left. Am I ready? Is my spouse ready? I was just having a conversation with a participant this morning in a benefit education consultation, and one of the things they said is that his spouse needs to get ready for him to be at home more. So we definitely had a laugh about that and a good conversation. Will you have enough income in retirement? Where will you live? And what will you do with your time? And those are probably just 5 of the hundreds of questions that are running through your brain when thinking about retirement. But if you remember who your resources are, who you can ask for advice, all of this is very doable in the time frame of retiring next July. So to get started, let's first begin with what retirement looks like. So the Book of Discipline, paragraph 357, outlines normal retirement, and that's reaching the age of 65 or 40 years of service. So it's one or the other, it's not both. Early retirement is reaching the age of at least 62 and 30 or 30 years of service. So again, it's 62 or 30 years of service. Mandatory age is 72, and then there's also a 20-year retirement that's voluntary with 20 years of service, and then you'd come back at earliest 62 years of age to begin your benefits. Let's cover the 25 retirement process real quick. First and foremost, register for benefit access. Make sure that you have your benefit access account set up, because that's where you're going to go to select your benefits. Once you're in benefit access, go ahead and review all of your personal information. Make sure your name's correct, address, phone number, all of that indicative data. If you're married, do the same for your spouse. Make sure their information is correct. Then check your clergy service record. Verify your beneficiaries. And then once you're there, you've gotten that preliminary information taken care of. If you have any additional questions around that, you can contact the retirement team. That's a picture of our retirement team, and that is actually their phone number listed there. You would just hit the prompt to talk to the retirement team in the phone message. So the next key is to understand where your income is coming from. And for UMC clergy, the plan that we're currently in right now is the Clergy Retirement Security Program. Prior to that, we had MPP, or Ministerial Pension Plan. Prior to that, we had Pre-82. And then there's also UMPIP. So for clergy, if you're in CRSP, if you're contributing at least 1% to your UMPIP account, you'll receive an additional 1% match to CRSP DC. So we hope you're contributing at least 1% to your UMPIP account. And then for married clergy, how about your spouse's sources of income? Your Social Security, your spouse's Social Security. So there's plenty of time to piece together where that retirement income will come from. In all likelihood, you have most of these benefits shown here on the screen. Social Security, UMPIP, MPP, CRSP, okay? So understand where your sources of income are coming from, and we'll cover these programs in more detail in the following slides. The plans have changed over time. Pre-82 was for service prior to 1982. MPP is from 1982 to 2006. And then since 2007, the plan has been CRSP, or Clergy Retirement Security Program. We'll cover these in reverse order. We'll start where we are today and work backward. So that means we begin with CRSP. So CRSP provides two types of benefits. The first is a defined benefit, also called a DB plan. When you think of a DB plan, that provides security. That means a payment will be made for the lifetime of that annuity. You'll actually pick one annuity out of the 6 available. There's 3 joint annuities and 3 single life annuities to choose from. The defined contribution account is made up of contributions from your employer, okay? A 2% non-match and a 1% match if you're contributing to UMPIP, and we hope that you are. We like to begin with the DB first because that's a little bit more involved. So the defined benefit is not a balance. It's actually a formula. It's math. And there's 3 things that we multiply together to come up with that monthly benefit. We take the denominational average compensation multiplied by a factor of either 1.25 or 1%. And then we multiply the number of years of credited service during each of the 2 service periods. So the math looks just like this after this slide. So we've got the DAC, that's the average plan compensation of clergy serving full-time appointments. In 24, it's $78,292. In 25, it's $80,003, okay? So for the clergy who are retiring July 1 of 2025, the DAC from 2025 will be used. Now let's talk about the factor. So there's 2 service periods, and there's actually 2 different factors. So for the first service period, when it started January of 2007 through 2013, the factor used for that period of time is 1.25. The factor for the second service period, 2014 through next June, is 1%. Credited service, first service period, if full-time, during that entire time, you'll receive 7 years of service or credited service. For the second service period, through next June, it's 11.5 years of credited service. So the math looks like this. On the left-hand side, we have that first service period that's being calculated. The right-hand side is the second service period. So we have the DAC multiplied by 1.25, multiplied by 7, and that comes out to a convenient $7,000 annually. The benefit's paid monthly, so we divide it by 12. So that first service period is providing a benefit of $583 per month. The second service period, same math, 80,000 multiplied by 1%, multiplied by 11 and a half years, comes out annually to $9,200, divide by 12. That provides an additional $767 per month for a total of $1,350. There are a couple of choices that you'll make when that you'll need to decide upon when making your choices to begin that benefit that will impact your initial monthly amount. The first choice is a surviving spouse benefit. Standard form of benefit for married clergy is to pick a joint annuity that provides that surviving spouse benefit. The cost of living adjustment, or the COLA, that's the percentage that your monthly payment will go up each year. The minimum COLA for CRSP is 2%. Early retirement also impacts that initial monthly amount, that amount right out of the gate. So let's take a look at that surviving spouse benefit. So there's 3 joint annuities: life in 70, life in 85, and life in 100. And you'll notice that all 3 of those joint annuities have the term life. That means it covers the life of the clergy person. The percentage following is the percentage of the payment that will continue on to the surviving spouse. So clergy person passes away, they pick a life in 70 annuity. That means 70% of the clergy person's payment will continue on to the surviving spouse. I'll have more examples of what that looks like in a little bit. With regards to the cost of living adjustment, some things to think about: your health, your spouse's health, family longevity, your age, your spouse's age upon benefit commencement. Do you have any other sources of income available? All of those considerations, as well as likely more considerations, can help impact or help frame your decision on the COLA. And another terrific resource to help out with the COLA discussion is a financial planner at EY. I know for a fact that they do love talking about cost of living adjustments. So that's a wonderful conversation to have. So here's an example of what it looks like for early retirement. So we see here Reverend Wesley decides to retire in 2025. That's early for him. He's currently 63 years of age and has not met the 40 years of service rule. So that means we take that $1,350 per month, that's the base amount, retiring 2 years early, and that reduction is a total of 12%. It breaks down to 0.5% per month, 6% per year. So in this example, it's 2 years early, so that benefit, that $1,350, is being reduced by 12%. That comes out to $162. So the reduced monthly benefit for retiring early in this example is $1,188. It's important to note that you'll get the better of the two. So if Reverend Wesley was 63, that's 2 years early by age, right? But let's say Reverend Wesley had 39 years of service. Well, he's only 1 year away from getting to 40, right? So that means in that case, his reduction would only be 6% because he's only retiring a year early. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, please comment in the question box. Okay, so that was the defined benefit. That was the DB. Now let's talk about the defined contribution portion. So the defined contribution portion in pre-retirement or active service, you'll receive a 2% non-match of your annual plan compensation. If you contribute at least 1% to UMPIP, you'll have a 1% match added to your CRSP DC account for a total of 3%. And then in active service, you have a choice on how those contributions are invested. First, you can self-manage. That means that you choose the funds that your contributions go into each month, okay? So you pick the funds and you determine how much of that amount goes into each of those funds. We hope if you're doing that you check in on a regular basis to make sure that you're guiding it in the direction that you want to see it go in. The other option is to use life stage investment management. And life stage investment management, in effect, places your account on autopilot because it determines the funds that those contributions go into, as well as managing a couple other things that we'll talk about in a little bit. So in retirement, your CRSP DC account's available for cash distributions. The first thing it can do, it can provide a monthly payment, and that's what we see here. The choices you have are similar, right? There's a self-managed portion, and in self-managed, that means that you just go into your benefits access account and you enter the amount that you would like to receive each month from your CRSP DC account. And you can increase that or decrease that. You can even start it or stop it. So that with the DC balances, the account balances, I'd like you to think about flexibility because you have that flexibility to be able to start it, stop it, adjust it. The other option is to use life stage retirement income. And what that will do, it will calculate a monthly payment for you in a safety zone, and it's designed to make that account balance last a lifetime. But because it's an account balance, there's no guarantees, but we are allowed to say that it does offer excellent probability that a payment will be made for a lifetime. So life stage retirement income calculates that payment for you. Another option is to let the account balance stay invested with Wespath untouched until required minimum distribution. An RMD age you could see is either 73 or 75, and we'll define that in a little bit. But RMD age is the age at which you are required by the IRS to begin your benefit distribution. So you can retire at 65, leave that benefit, that account balance untouched until you reach required minimum distribution. Like with any of the account balances, any remaining balance is paid to the beneficiary upon the participant's death. So that wraps up CRSP. It's got two components: the defined benefit, which provides security. You'll pick an annuity. You'll pick one of 6 annuities. You'll also get to pick a cost of living adjustment, and that benefit continues for a lifetime. If married and picking a joint annuity, it would actually cover 2 lifetimes. CRSP DC is an account balance, and you get to determine when to start it, how much to take, and that can be adjusted along the way. So now let's go back in time a little bit. We'll go to MPP, Ministerial Pension Plan, and this was for service from 1982 through 2006. This is an account balance. It's not a formula, so you actually see this in your benefits access account. Currently, or in active service, it's managed using life stage investment management. When you begin that benefit, or when you commence that benefit in retirement, you've got 2 choices to make on the 65% portion of that account. I'll cover that in a little bit. The remaining 35% stays in account balance, giving you that same flexibility that you had with CRSP DC. You could start it, you can stop it, you can change it, okay? There's 6 annuities to choose from. The same 6 annuities that you have for CRSP DB are the same annuities that you have to choose from for the MPP annuity. With MPP, you have 5 COLA options, a 0%, and then in whole percentages, 2, 3, 4, or 5. and I'll cover those in a little bit. So let's go back to the 65%. So your first option for the 65% is to choose an annuity. This was the original option for the MPP annuity. And when we say annuity, we're just talking about a series of benefit payments that last through a participant's lifetime. If married and elected, it would cover 2 lifetimes. The second option, this was just recently passed at General Conference of 2024. And the second option allows you to move that 65% of the MPP account balance into life stage retirement income. And then life stage retirement income would calculate a payment for you from that account balance. So that transfer is final. So once you move that 65% into life stage retirement income, you can't go back. And that will be paid in monthly installments. As I mentioned, that remaining 35% stays in account balance, giving you the same flexibility as the CRSP DC account. So all lined up together. On the left-hand side, we have the 2 options for the 65%. You can pick one of 6 annuity options and a cost of living adjustment, or you could move that 65% into life stage retirement income and then take monthly installments from there. The 35% remains an account balance, giving you flexibility on how you want to receive that income or that money. So let's take a quick look at the annuities. So you'll see this is MPP and CRSP. These are life and survivor annuities, so a joint annuity. This is actually an MPP example. So it was a $400,000 account balance and a 2% COLA, and that's how these numbers were generated. You'll see under annuity type, there's 3 that are listed: life in 100%, life in 85%, life in 70%. All of them begin with the term life because it covers the life of the clergy person. The percentage is the amount of money that the amount of the monthly payment that will continue on to the surviving spouse. So life in 70, highest payment for the clergy person at $1,235. The surviving spouse would receive 70% of that, so it's actually the lowest payment for the surviving spouse at $865. But what you'll notice when we look at life in 85, the payment drops about $30 for the clergy person, but it goes up about $160 for the surviving spouse. And then life in 100, it's the same payment, $177 or $1177 to start, and that surviving spouse would then receive 100% of that clergy person's payment. This is a little easier, right? There's only 2 columns, but we still have a $400,000 account balance, 2% COLA. The annuity types, there's still three single life annuity options. You'll see the top one pays the highest at $13.95. The reason for that is because it only covers 1 lifetime, the clergy person. So that payment would end when the clergy person passes. The next 2 are interesting and useful. So life in 5 years certain and life in 10 years certain, you'll see that those payments are just a little bit lower than the one above it. When you think of life in 5 years certain or 10 years certain, you can also say 5-year guarantee, 10-year guarantee. So the way these 2 work is if the clergy person passes away within that 5-year term or that 10-year term, the payment will continue to anyone they chose or to the person they chose for that 5-year period. So retire at 65, pass away at 68, pick the 5-year certain, there's 2 additional years worth of payment there. So that payment will continue to the person the retiree chose for that next 2 years. Opposite side of the coin, pick a life in 10 years certain, retire at 65, pass away at 95, had a wonderful 30-year retirement. they outlive that guaranteed or that certain period, so that payment would then end. In the same week, a couple summers ago, I had two clergy tell me, they're both single, they were helping their granddaughter. One was helping a granddaughter, the other was helping a grandson in college. They both picked the 5-year certain at that time because they wanted to make sure if they passed away while their granddaughter or grandson was in college, they would still receive that income. So definitely something to think about. So now let's talk about the cost of living adjustments. And a COLA is that annual increase in your annuity payment. And you get to choose the COLA that matches you best. So MPP, you see that you could pick a 0% COLA for MPP, and then 2, 3, 4, or 5 for MPP or CRSP. It's interesting, the annuity type doesn't have to be the same. So if you have CRSP and MPP, the annuity type can be different, and the cost of living adjustment can be different. Doesn't have to be the same. It's important to note that that COLA does impact your initial monthly benefit. And here's how it's impacted. So along the left-hand side of this graph, we have monthly income. Along the bottom, we have age, starting at 65 and then running it out to 93. So we're going to start with a 2% COLA first. That's what we see there in purple. You'll see that it's about $1,700 initially for that 2% COLA. The 5% COLA brings that amount down to a little under $1,200. Okay, so right out of the gate, 5% COLA is the lowest monthly payment. But with longevity is the key word there, that provides the highest monthly payment. A 0% COLA used to be a popular choice. We'd hear from clergy saying they planned on picking a 0% COLA because they'd intended on delaying taking Social Security, so that would be their Social Security bridge. We have another option, and Cheryl will actually be talking about the Social Security bridge from life stage retirement income in a couple of slides. And then, as you'd expect at this point, a 3% and 4% COLA just slide in respectively there. So higher the COLA, the lower your initial monthly payment. With longevity, a higher COLA provides a higher monthly payment. So some considerations for MPP. MPP is an account balance, so that first thing you could do is leave it until required minimum distribution, 73 or 75. And I'm sure by the end of this presentation, you'll know exactly what your RMD age is. Take a look at those two different options for that 65% balance. EY is another terrific resource to have a conversation with about those two benefits. There's pros and cons to each. It'd be great to be able to land on what your decision is. For those who are retiring next July 1, maybe sometime early mid-spring. Here's another option. So that 35%, next July, you could move that 35% of MPP into your UMPIP and then start taking distributions from it, while leaving that 65% untouched. And then you can make that decision on that 65% at a later date, definitely by your RMD date. And then most clergy roll that 35% into their UMPIP and then begin taking distributions from there. So let's wrap up MPP real quick. MPP is an account balance. When you begin the benefit, you have the decision to annuitize or move the 65% into life stage retirement income and then take a payment. So you'll need to make a decision around that 65%, and then you'll also need to make a decision around the 35%. Will you roll that into your UMPIP account and start taking a distribution? So those three choices really are coming up for those who are retiring next July 1. So pre-82 is a fairly simple plan. Our supervisor, Bob, would always joke to say, the presentations, the webinars, will ultimately get shorter because the number of folks in pre-82 is decreasing each year. So eventually, we wouldn't have to present on pre-82. We still cover it because it's a valuable benefit, and I'm sure we have a couple of individuals who are on pre-82 or have pre-82 service now. So pre-82 is another lifetime monthly benefit. For the majority of the annual conferences out there, Wespath will calculate the benefit two ways. The first is just the past service rate calculation, and then the second is the DBSM money is converted into a lifetime annuity and then paid out. So Wespath will calculate it both ways each year and then automatically give you the higher of the two payments. And here's what that looks like. At the top is the past service rate. So in this example, they had 2 years of service in pre-82. The past service rate 700 multiplied out. That's an annual benefit of $1,400. It's paid monthly, so we divide it by 12. So the PSR benefit would be $116 per month. The DBSM that is annuitized, and it comes out to $2,400 annual benefit monthly. We divide it by 12, so now it's a $200 monthly benefit. We'll automatically send you the higher of the two. If the PSR continues to increase, it's possible that the benefit would be paid from the PSR calculation or the past service rate. But as a clergy person retired with pre-82, that's not really a concern for you. We'll automatically send you the higher of the two amounts. If you're single at the time of retirement, it's a single life payment. There's no refund, and that payment would end upon the participant's death. Married clergy, the surviving spouse benefit is set by the annual conference. And what we see here, of course, it starts with life, so it covers the life of the clergy person, and then that percentage is the percentage of the clergy payment that will continue on to the surviving spouse. So that wraps up pre-82. So that means that we are moving into UMPIP,
Yes.
and I get to pass the baton
Passing the baton.
to Cheryl.
All right. Well, all great information, Todd. Thank you so much for all that great explanation regarding all of the mandatory plans. We're now going to head into UMPIP. We've got our rain jacket on because we're sheltering from the storm. So that's what this is doing. So UMPIP, what is it? It is a defined contribution plan. So it is a 403B plan that actually accepts contributions from your plan sponsors and employers, as well as your contributions from your payroll deduction. And as Todd had mentioned earlier, if you're putting in at least 1%, you're going to get that CRSP DC match as well. All of the annual contributions are set by the IRS, and I'll tell you what those are. They change every year, so we want to let you know what those limits are. As far as the investment options, again, you have those options. We'll talk a little bit more about the life stage investment management, what it means, as well as your ability to self-manage. So you have those options available. Here are the limits for 2025. Now, they are high, but we just want people to be able to understand them and know them. Don't feel bad if you're not putting in this amount of money. Just put in what you can reasonably afford. But if you're under the age of 50, your limit is $23,500. If you're between the ages of 50 and 59, you have what's called a catch-up, an extra $7,500 that you can put into it for a total of $31,000 in 1 year. If you're between the ages of 60 and 63, this is something new for 2025. You actually have what's called a super catch-up. So you can actually include an additional, I believe that's $3,250 into that. So for a total of $34,750. So that's new for 2025. And then if you're 64 or older, it goes back down to the regular catch-up contribution of $31,000. Okay. So again, before tax and Roth combined, put in what you can reasonably afford, all right? As far as your most common personal contribution types, these are Roth or before tax. Most people put money in on a before tax basis. What we want you to understand about the contribution scenarios here, how you put the money in is going to determine how it's taxed when you take it out. As a general rule with the Roth, if you're putting money in on a Roth basis, the money is already taxed. So when you take it out in as a distribution, it won't be taxed. Again, generally speaking. On a before tax basis, you don't pay tax putting the money in, but you will need to pay tax on it coming out. As we've mentioned, Todd's mentioned already about EY is a great resource for you. Again, ask them if what might be best for you and your family in this situation. Could it be putting all the money in Roth? Could it be putting money in before tax? Or could it be a little of both? So they're a great resource to help you with that decision. Rollovers. Rollovers is another way to actually help increase your amount into UMPIP. If you happen to be maybe a second career clergy, maybe you have another job with a retirement plan, you can roll that money over into your UMPIP account. Or maybe even if you have a separate traditional IRA, that's all information and monies that can be moved over. It's something that I actually handle here at Wespath, so feel free to ask me any questions that you may have. But it can be as simple as filling out a form, sending that information into us. We actually send out what's called a letter of acceptance, and that gets sent to the financial institutions. And then hopefully after that's done, the check just comes over to us. All right, so hopefully it can be that easy. But otherwise, you can feel free to consult with your tax and financial advisor, as well as EY if you happen to have questions about that as well. Now, I want to just give you a little bit of a touch on what the new plan is going to be. So the new plan is called Compass. It is going to be the new clergy retirement plan, and it's starting as of 1/1/26. What does that mean? The credited service for the CRSP benefit that Todd had just talked about is going to be ending as of 2025. That example that Todd had used was using July 1st as a retirement date, but if you wind up working longer than that, so your whole credited service through 2025 would be 12 years of service. So if you are in this from the beginning, so from 07 through 2025, that would be a total of 19 years. 7 for the first period of service with that 1.25% factor, and then 12 years for the 1% factor. Also at General Conference, it was decided that that DAC amount that was discussed, that denominational average compensation, is going to grow at 2% each year while you are still in active ministry. Okay? So no more calculations from us as far as the full-time status of your full-time appointments. It's automatically going to go up 2% each year. You will get to keep what you've accrued. So anything that you have in the CRSP, MPP, or even pre-82, you have all that available to you, okay? Once you start commencing your benefits, then you can actually take that money back out. Retired clergy, this has no impact on you because you're not having any credit service going into Compass. Okay? So what doesn't change? Active clergy, you're going to keep those benefits that you've previously earned under those legacy plans. And then again, retired clergy, no impact to you at all. As far as the amounts that are going in to your account for Compass, there's going to be 3 of them. So the first one is going to be the flat dollar contribution. Everyone is going to get $150 per month added into their account. Again, that's just for you being you, $150 per month. Again, that amount is going to increase over time, but it will continue with that $150 for at least for January of 26. The second type is you're going to get the pay dependent contribution. That again is 3% of your pay is going to be going into your account. Again, just for you being you. You're getting 3% of your pay, and your compensation is actually based is your base compensation plus 35% of the housing allowance if you do receive that. So 3% of compensation plus $150 per month. So pretty good so far. Now we go into the matching contributions. This is where you have a little bit more skin in the game. If you're putting in up to 4% of your compensation, then it will be matched up to 4%. So you can certainly put in more than 4%, you'll get the 4% as a match. So you could potentially get, you put in 4%, the match will be 4%, you automatically are getting 3%, plus the additional $150 per month, you're getting well over 11% into your retirement plan, okay, for Compass. So we want to make sure that you're aware of that. Of course, this is still an ongoing process, but this is how the benefit has been set up. When you talk about the retirement and actually getting that money out of Compass, all of those church contributions and earnings are distributed through life stage retirement income. That's a requirement. It will be paid out through life stage retirement income. You still have those options of the Social Security bridge as well as the longevity income protection, which again I'll be discussing a little bit later. The clergy contributions again can be self-managed, or you can elect to have life stage retirement income actually get those as payments as well. And because this is a defined contribution account, any remaining balance that is not paid to you will go to your beneficiaries. Now I want to talk a little bit more about investing your account before and after retirement. So again, we've got a lot of benefits of investing with Wespath. Lots of different investment options. They're all diversified for you. There are low expense ratios and no commissions, again, because we have a targeted audience that we're actually having people in this account. And we are not advertising during the Super Bowl, okay? So we keep all of those expenses low and those commissions in, so more money stays in the fund just where it needs to be. Again, EY Financial Planning Services, a wonderful resource. They're a great business partner that we've been utilizing, so please do utilize them. They have nothing to sell. They're there just to help you make sure that your retirement is the best it can be for you and your family. Again, all of these are aligned with the values of the United Methodist Church. So again, we are doing sustainable investing. I want to make sure that most of that money stays in the fund where it needs to be for you. As far as the participant investment options, the ways, again, that we've been talking about throughout this presentation so far has been life stage and self-managing. But again, either way that you choose, EY, again, is another resource for you to help with those decisions. So let's talk a little bit more about life stage investment management. What is it? So life stage is actually just a personalized investment management tool for defined contribution accounts. So all of those DC accounts, all the ones that you have that flexibility with, those are accounts that you have the option to have life stage investment management set. It actually sets an asset allocation for you, determined based on different criteria, and it's reviewed quarterly. So it's not just on autopilot, meaning it's not doing anything. It's actually doing something and is actually looking at the information, the funds in the background. It will rebalance your accounts based on the management tool to set things up as it needs to be. You can actually have life stage in while you're active as well as in retirement. So a little bit more information about life stage is, again, that it creates that diversified investment portfolio that's customized to each participant. Your retirement is going to be different from mine, is different from Todd's. So again, because everybody's age is going to be different, whether your risk tolerance is conservative, moderate, or aggressive, as well as if you're going to be receiving Social Security benefits. And Todd had talked about the retirement and Social Security earlier. If you want to find out how much you could receive as a Social Security benefit, you can go out to Social Security, SSA.gov, and do an evaluation there to find out how much you can actually get for your Social Security benefit. Now, if you don't actually have a personal investment profile set up, you are going to be defaulted into this investment profile. It's going to be a moderate risk tolerance with your benefit commencement age at 65, and that you're eligible for Social Security. If you want help, if you don't have one set up, you can actually contact our customer solutions team, and they can help you with that process. And if these factors need to be different for you. Wonderful investment information is available at wespath.org. We tease amongst all of us that say we have a plethora of information that's out there. We love that word, plethora. So you can see all the different values of the funds that we have, all of the fund descriptions, see how we compare and have the comparative results against other financial institutions out there, and see those benchmarks and fees as well. When you actually take a distribution in retirement, again, you have options. What many of our people do is that they actually take what's called cash installments. And the cash installments can either be through life stage retirement income, where that is determined based on that account balance that you have. That amount is calculated out to actually have a payment that will last for your lifetime, calculated for you. So you receive the same amount for your estimated lifetime. Or you can tell us, again, how much you want to take out in retirement. Maybe that's $1,000 one month, maybe it's $5,000 the next month. So that is something that you have control over. You can also take full or partial lump sums, but again, what most of our people do is take those cash installments. With those defined contributions, upon your passing, any amount remaining would go to your beneficiaries. That's why we want to make sure that you have that information updated in our system, because it will supersede the will that you have set up. Also, we will go into the required minimum distributions. You can scan that QR code. You can get the what's our RMD brochure, and it will tell you more information about RMDs. But I'll get into a little bit of that as well. So again, we want to make sure that you're actually spending your retirement right. So let's go through the life stage retirement income. This is actually an award-winning program that Wespath has created, and we're very proud of it. It is actually designed to optimize your monthly retirement income from all of your defined contribution plans. So this is actually based on your age, those other types of factors that we looked at earlier, your risk tolerance, if you're actually returning 60, if you're getting Social Security. The life stage retirement income actually uses life stage investment management to help it along the way. The goal for this is actually to provide monthly payments that last for your, and if chosen, your survivor's lifetime. That is the goal, and to have that last for your lifetime. To set it up, you would actually use the modeling tool in Benefits Access when you're eligible to go out there and do that. You would combine all of your, you can combine your defined contribution balances into your UMPIP, and again, you decide how much of that balance goes into the program. You can set aside a certain amount, and I like to call that the emergency fund or rainy day fund. So out of your entire defined contribution balances, you can set aside, let's just say $25,000, and not have that affect your monthly amount that you are receiving. If you needed some additional money, you want to take that emergency fund that you've set up and put that back into your monthly payment, you can do that. Or eventually later on, if you have that emergency fund, and if you want to take that and use that for a vacation, or maybe you need a new roof for the house, you can take that out without affecting your monthly benefit. So a lot of different factors, and that's where the flexibility comes into play. And again, the system considers your account balance, your age, your survivor's age, as well as your risk tolerance when having this money created for your life stage retirement income. Again, flexibility and choice is what we have for this. You take your distribution on those funds. You can always add more to it. Again, if you happen to have something you want to roll over into your defined contribution or your UMPIP account, you can do that. You can actually transfer between life stage retirement income and UMPIP at any time. There's no costs, no direct participant cost to you. And again, you still have the options of having that Social Security bridge and the longevity income protection that's available for you for that retirement income. Now let's talk about that Social Security bridge again. So what this will do is it will actually supplement your income in your early retirement years by allowing you to defer applying for Social Security in order to get those maximum deferred credits. So for example, my full retirement age, or FRA, full retirement age, is actually 67. If I were to retire at 67, but you know what, I don't want to take my Social Security right away. I want to wait until 70 because if I do that, then I'll get an extra 8% per year or an extra 24% added into my Social Security. If I want to wait and receive that Social Security payment, I'm going to need some money up front to supplement what I would have received from Social Security. So what I can do is actually take my my life stage retirement income plus the amount that I would receive from Social Security and take that all from the bridge, okay? And that way you would actually be receiving all your money then through life stage. And again, that can be, the investment allocation can be adjusted to reflect short-term bridge. If you only wanted to do it for a year or two, you can do that. Again, you have that flexibility. Another thing that you can do is actually take the longevity income protection. What this is it's actually another deferred annuity that you would purchase from an outside carrier, and that would be paid for through your retirement funds, and you would pay for that and not receive a benefit from that until age 80. What that does is actually gives you maybe some more peace of mind that you will know that you will have another stream of income over your lifetime, and that you have that annuity is based on group insurance rates. So if you were to purchase an annuity without the group insurance rates, it would be higher. So again, this is another option that you have available to you. Now, to say how this works, again, think about that Social Security that you would receive, let's say from my full retirement age at 67. Full retirement age, I take my life stage retirement income, and I also need that money that I would get from Social Security. So I'm getting all of that from life stage. Once I turn 70 and I've received all of my extra credits then that I can get for Social Security, I'm taking Social Security now, but now my dependence on life stage actually decreases because I don't need all that because I'm getting Social Security with that extra amount that's added in. Now, if I wanted to do the longevity income protection, that's where this comes into play. So I'm getting my Social Security, I'm getting that longevity income protection, which starts when I'm age 80, and then my dependence then on life stage becomes even lower. So again, whether or not these are good options for you, definitely consider contacting EY or your financial planner, tax advisor to decide whether or not this is right for you. So again, is this right for me? Do you happen to have any significant health issues? Maybe you are not well and you may not make it to age 80. That's definitely something to consider for the longevity income protection. Have you opted out of Social Security? Then that may not be an issue either. Again, think about any other significant other annuity income that you have, and then again, consider rolling over any other money that you might have outside of Wespath, because then that would just boost the amount that would be in your account balance. Required minimum distributions, as we mentioned earlier, this is an amount that can be distributed from your defined contribution that you have to take at a certain age. It's required by the IRS, not by Wespath. You would actually begin by April 1st of the year after you turn 73 or 75, and it's based on the amounts of the RMDs by the December 31st of that previous year. All of your benefits do need to be taken as of that required minimum distribution age. So all of your MPP, your CRSP, DB, and your pre-82 benefits must also begin at that time. So what age are you considered to have that RMD age? So if you were born in 1951 or later, at the age at which you must begin taking your required distribution will increase. So if your birthday is before December 31st, 1958, your RMD age is 73. So again, if your birthday is after 1 of 59 or later, your RMD is age 75. For the federal tax withholding on the distributions, if you have a partial or full lump sum, we do need to take a 20% tax withholding. For RMDs, that is a 10% tax withholding. It's not something that we choose to do. It is a federal law that we need to do this, taking that from your benefits. If you're receiving benefits, if again using that calculation based on July 1st of next year, then you have to have all of your elections in by June 30th. Because of the July holiday, your first payment will be around July 7th or 8th, and then the months after that, it's going to be on the first or second or third business day of the month, depending on what you're receiving. Your monthly retirement income benefits are going to be based on the first business day of the month, and any cash installment payments that you're receiving will be the second or third business day. Now let's talk about the housing allowance exclusion. I'm going to go through this a little quickly, but you will receive the slides of this afterwards as well. I want you to remember, as far as in retirement, your housing allowance exclusion may be a little bit different than what you have in active service. It is going to be, the amount of your exclusion is going to be the least of these three numbers. The amount designated for housing allowance, again, generally this comes from your annual conference resolution, designated that housing allowance. The amount that's actually expended for housing, so you're going to need to keep a spreadsheet on that. How much are your expenses for having that household for that year? And the fair rental value of that house. So the lowest of those three is what is your exclusion. So let's do an example. Example, Reverend Waters, he actually receives $24,000 in pension. The full amount of that is actually 100% designated, so that full amount can be part of that designation. Let's say that all the money that you spent, you kept track of it, so that includes your mortgage, your interest, your property taxes, all those Clorox wipes we've been buying for the last 4 years. All of those added up, that equated out to $20,000. If you did a Zillow search or asked a real estate expert to come in and say, hey, how much could you rent your house for, including furnishings and utilities, that amounted to about $1,750 a month. Equates to $21,000 in a year. Then the lowest of those three numbers that we have there, 24, 20, 21, the lowest is $20,000. So that is your housing allowance exclusion. So if you subtract that from the pension that you received of $24,000, your tax amount is $4,000. So quite a wonderful tax savings, a tax advantage for clergy. It is available for retired clergy. It's not applicable to the surviving spouse unless it is a clergy couple. It is only for the primary residence. And on the back of our worksheet that we have, the housing allowance worksheet, it does have information as far as what you can put on there for the reason why you're taking that as an exclusion. Now let's go through all of our participant resources. So many of them. Your benefit projections, you can actually run those yourself out there. When you go into benefits access, you can actually have that run. You can look at your account growth, you can look at all those different commencement dates and all of your defined contribution balances using life stage retirement income. EY, I think we mentioned them maybe once or twice. So EY is out there. There's their website and phone number for you to contact them. Wonderful, wonderful resource. A lot of different things that they can actually ask, or you can ask them and they can help you with. How much can I afford in retirement? Should I choose a higher or lower COLA? And also, should I use a loan feature? Make sure you ask that question. That's another thing that we didn't talk about too much today as far as the loan feature, but something you can definitely do in active or as well as in retirement. Todd mentioned this earlier. We will send this link out as well to have a one-on-one consultation with us, the benefit educators. You can talk with Todd or myself, or even Bob or Frank, who's manning the question box. Action planning wouldn't be a webinar without some action steps. So if you haven't already, please go out and register for Benefits Access. It's, again, a wonderful resource. And when you actually sign up for your benefits and commence those benefits, you're going to need to go there anyway. So why not become familiar with it now? And during our consultations, we always review your beneficiary designations. Make sure that those are up to date. Kids like to move or change their phone numbers. Make sure that's updated. Your action planning continues with reviewing and updating your UMPIP contribution rate. Hey, do you know how much you're contributing? Is it 4%? Is it maybe 8%? Or maybe something in between? Think about wanting to look at that and see if you can increase that. Review that life stage investment management profile. Again, are you moderate or conservative, maybe even aggressive? That's all something that you can actually change. Use that benefit projection tool on the Benefit Access website. Call EY, schedule that benefit education consultation. You want to talk to us. We've given you some great information today. If you want to talk to us some more, we're here for you. All right, so these participant solution numbers, again, the wespath.org with our customer solutions number. Wonderful people. You saw the happy smiling faces out there for earlier. They're all ones you can help with you if you happen to have any questions as well. So Todd and I want to thank you so much for being with us today. And again, we'll send out information after this as well. But thank you for stopping in and listening to our pre-retirement seminar today, our webinar actually. And thank you again. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.